Good afternoon. Welcome. It's good to see a full house. Before we begin, let's remind ourselves of the fire code that most of you probably already memorized. In the event of fire alarm sounds, please remain in the auditorium and stay seated. Should there be need to evaluate, a Springmore staff member will direct you to how to leave in an orderly fashion. Please remember not to use the elevators and to go to a red pole once outside. Also, please, if you will, please silence your phones. And are there people here who have not been to a residents association meeting before? Barbara will come around with the microphone if you'll introduce yourself.
Where is she? You must speak up.
Hi, my name's Jean Smith, and I'm moved in May 28th.
And where do you live?
114.
Okay.
I'm Shirley Adams, and I've been here a couple months, and I'm on third floor here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I see one that's bashful.
Hi, I'm Sherry Jacks, and I moved on April the 27th, and I'm on the West Wing.
Hi, I'm Hadley Hines, and I moved May the 17th, I think it was, and I'm on first floor.
Very nice. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Jane Paris, and Kathy, my wife, and I live on second floor, West Apartments, right across from the plant room.
Okay.
And I'm Kathy.
A big hand to all of you newcomers. One quick announcement, a reminder that immediately following the program here, the Sawmill Road Quartet will be playing in the Ammons Room, probably beginning by 4:15 and playing for a while. As you know from publicity's gone out, today is the beginning of our endowment campaign, and I'd like to recognize Peg Bedini, Chair of the Endowment Committee, to launch the campaign.
Thank you. I have been given a very limited amount of time to speak to you, and those of you who know me well know that will be difficult, but I will do my best. One of the wonderful things about living at Springmore, and there are many, is the guarantee that no one will ever be put out because they have run out of money. You know that when you apply to Springmore, you have to give very detailed financial information. But the reality has shown through the years that some residents will need some assistance. In many cases, those residents have simply outlived their money. The endowment fund is managed by a board of directors who make all decisions regarding management, investments, and giving away the funds. They are selected because of their expertise and their interest in Springmore. Only the income from the endowment each year may be used for needed subsidies, and that is rarely enough. If that amount is not sufficient, the Springmore budget has to provide the extra. So as I'm sure you realize, making a tax-free donation to the endowment fund helps to ensure that that income is as large as possible. And it also helps to minimize what has to come from our regular budget. Our main source of income is the once-a-year annual campaign, which begins today. Tonight, you will receive a packet outside your door, which will include brochures about the endowment, and it will include a donation slip, which you fill out and goes back to the business office. You can put it in the in-house mail. If you prefer, you can go to the website springmore.org, and there is a way there to donate online. Go to that website and just click on endowment. I do ask that you consider this seriously. We don't give you an amount that we'd like to have. We don't give you a certain amount that we feel we need. But what we would like to see is a high number of participation from residents. We are aiming for 90% of the residents. I always have felt, since I've been here and been involved, that the endowment is truly neighbor helping neighbor. None of us ever knows what lies ahead. So I ask in advance for you to consider this, and thank you.
Jim wants to know if you're taking a collection now. I think not, but you will get the envelopes at your door after the meeting sometime. I'd like to recognize Jim Bundy, Vice President of our Residents Association, to introduce our program.
Thank you, Alan. Boy, we made a record today. I believe this is the largest attendance probably to ever attend a Residents Association meeting. So we must have a topic that they want to hear something about. So I'm glad to see all of you here today. For those of you who didn't get the handouts, we've got the presses running. And so before the end of the meeting, we're going to have some more documents that we'll be able to put in your hands, because the documents are going to be very valuable to you to take back home and to read as well. In addition to those who are here in the auditorium today, I hope that there are lots also watching on 1341. And as always, I give thanks to Charlie Bryan for making it possible for the program to be live streamed on 1341 and also recorded. Remember, you can always go back and watch the Residents Association meetings on the resident portal. It's normally posted within 48 hours. And once it goes on the portal, you go to videos, Resident Association meetings, and you find the one by the date that you want to watch, and then you just click on it and it'll come up and you can watch it. House rules, again, will apply today, and that is we ask you to please hold your questions and your comments until the presentation is completed, at which time a microphone will be brought to you so that everybody in the auditorium will be able to hear your question, and also those who are on 1341 listening will also be able to hear the question that you might be asking. Our program today obviously is a very timely one. I believe that as news reports almost daily, there are incidents of scams and fraud and identity theft and even hacking of company databases. Unfortunately, many of the scams we hear about are directed at what we refer to as senior citizens, a term which, of course, applies to 99.9% of those who are in the auditorium today. There may be a few exceptions, but most of us, it applies. So how can we be alert to these scams that are directed to us? How do we prevent from being a victim? What do we need to do to be aware of the scam possibilities that could cost us thousands of dollars if we get swept up in a scam operation? What can we do if we become a part of a scam operation or an identity theft situation? These and more are the questions that our presenter is going to answer for us today. Our presenter today is Sarah Welch, who is an outreach specialist for the North Carolina Department of Justice. In her position, she travels the state, raising awareness and educating North Carolinians on financial fraud, crime prevention, and resources for crime victims. She also helps develop policy to protect the state from various threats. She has a bachelor's degree in political science and Spanish from James Madison University in Virginia and a master's degree in international studies from the Universidad de Salamanca in Spain. Sarah is a native North Carolinian, and she calls Cary home. In her spare time, when she's not making presentations like the one she's making today for us, she enjoys gardening and she enjoys making pottery. So Sarah, the program podium is now yours.
Hello, everybody. It is wonderful to be with you all today. I hope you will excuse my voice. I lost it last week. Too many presentations, so hopefully it bears with me today. I brought my tea, and I've got a couple lozenges, so if I start coughing, just give me a second. Like Jim said, my name is Sarah Welch. I come from you all today from Cary. I am going to give a presentation about how we can best avoid scams and frauds. As a general disclaimer, I cannot offer any legal advice, and I'm not a lawyer, so you would not want my legal advice anyways. In addition, this presentation is as up-to-date and correct to the best of my knowledge, and any opinions that I express are my own. All right, so to give an overview of what I'll cover today, I'll go through the mission of the Department of Justice, what my division, Consumer Protection, focuses on. I'll focus then on how to best avoid scams and frauds. So we'll talk about phone scams, text scams, and then online, and then some just further prevention tips, and I'll leave time for questions and comments at the end, okay? All right, so the Department of Justice is led by Attorney General Josh Stein. It's an elected position. It has a term limit of 4 years, and this year it will be Attorney General Stein's last year in office. So this November we'll be electing a new Attorney General, but our mission stays the same, and that is simply to protect the people of North Carolina. We do this in 3 ways. The first is to prevent crime and support law enforcement. The second is to safeguard consumers, which is primarily what I'm talking about today. And the third is to defend the state, the literal land, its natural resources, the water and the drinking water and the air that we breathe, its people and their constitutional rights. It's a common misconception that the Department of Justice has lots of attorneys and we can represent you in court, and unfortunately we cannot. Our job at the Department of Justice is to represent the state as a group, and so we do not, unfortunately, represent individuals. All right, so a little bit about the Consumer Protection Division. We rely heavily on individuals like yourselves. And so what that means is that we receive consumer complaints from consumers who have had a bad experience, potentially a fraudulent experience with a company or an organization. So that might be a car dealership, it could be a credit card company, it could be a utility company, but as you'll see, I'll have a pie chart in a couple of slides. Most of the complaints that we receive are about robocalls and scams through phones, which I'm sure you all are familiar with, right? They're very annoying. So we investigate those consumer complaints that we receive, and if they rise to the level of a scam, then we take legal action against them when we can. Unfortunately, we'll talk about today, a lot of these scammers are not in North Carolina. They're not even in the United States. They're in Jamaica. They're in West Africa. They're somewhere else that we cannot prosecute them. So in that case, we take legal action where we can, and there are people that we can prosecute. Additionally, we respond to reports about security breaches. So when companies have a security breach, I think the latest one was Ticketmaster. They had a massive security breach. Those companies are required to report that to our office, and we investigate them and provide guidance. And then the last bullet point is that we educate North Carolinians, what I'm here today to do. So we travel the state literally from the mountains to the ocean, and we talk about scams and frauds and a number of other issues. One of the other ways that we educate North Carolinians is through our consumer alerts, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen. And we send these out through social media or through email newsletters. And this is just a way that we help people stay up to date when they should be alert about something. So a couple of weeks ago, we gave one about there was a toll road scam. People were receiving text messages saying, you owe lots of money for tolls that you have not paid. It was not true. They did not owe that money. And so we sent out a consumer alert about that. And a couple months before that, there was one about applesauce and there being lead in applesauce. And so there was a recall on it. We sent out a consumer alert about that as well. Okay. All right. So a little bit more about the Consumer Protection Division. Since 2017, our division has won back more than $3 billion for consumers. In 2023 alone, we won back more than $563 million for consumers. That includes court judgments and settlements, including from the opioid pharmaceutical manufacturers. So in the opioid crisis that we have going on, we prosecuted the pharmaceutical companies that were making and distributing them, and that number includes the settlements from those cases. Last year, we received more than 21,544 consumer complaints. It's a lot of complaints. But when you think about how many people live in North Carolina, that's less than one complaint per person. So we really do rely on you all to tell us when you're having a negative experience that we need to investigate. And then the last bullet point that I'll draw your attention to is the Robocall Report Task Force. This is an initiative from the Attorney General Josh Stein. He started this a couple of years ago and has gotten the buy-in from 50 attorneys general across the country, as well as the telecommunications companies. And so they meet together and they have established principles that they will all adhere to and follow as they operate. So AT&T, Verizon, all the major telecommunications companies are part of this task force. They share information, they meet regularly, and they are working to prevent spam calls and robocalls from reaching you all. They work to prevent them, and in the event that they do reach you, they started that warning on your phone that says, spam risk. So when you have a phone call from an unknown number and it says, potential spam risk, that's a result of this task force. So they do their best to prevent those phone calls, but again, if they were to reach you, they try to let you know, hey, there's a risk here.
Liz,
Yes,
could you talk a little slower?
a little slower. Okay. Okay, all right. If I'm going too fast again, just show me, okay? Just tell me. Sorry, I have a bad habit of speaking too fast. Okay, here is the pie chart that I mentioned earlier. So this breaks down by percentage the types of complaints that we receive. So the biggest section that's on the right-hand side, those are for telemarketing and robocalls. And then the next section has the car in it. That's for motor vehicle sales. And then the next biggest sections are for credit card companies and utility companies. And then following that, there's home improvement and internet and landlord-tenant. So we receive complaints about all types of things. And those are the most common ones that we receive. Okay. So what is a scam and who is affected? A scam is any dishonest scheme that is trying to take your money or something of value. So something of value includes your social security number, your Medicare number, even your age, your name, or your voice. And they do it through dishonest means. So they lie to you, they mislead you, and they do it to either an individual or to a group of individuals. Okay? Who's susceptible to a scam? Everybody. It's commonly believed that seniors are the most vulnerable, and I'm here to tell you today that you can go out and say, actually, the most vulnerable group, the people that are most likely to fall for scams, are 18 to 24 years old. Yes, I know. Isn't that shocking? Here's the thing, though. Young people don't have a lot of money. I'll speak from experience. When I was 18, 20 years old, I did not have a lot of money to give away to a scammer, right? Unfortunately, when you do work for 40 years and you get to retirement, you then have your 401k, your life savings, to then be vulnerable to a scammer. So if you do fall for a scam, you have more money to give away to a scammer. Does that make sense? So young people are more likely to fall for the scam, but older people are more likely to give away more money to the scammers, okay? But again, it doesn't matter. Everybody's vulnerable. It doesn't matter how educated you are. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter if you're a man or if you're a woman. It genuinely does not matter. Everybody is susceptible to it. So I'll go ahead and take a poll. Who here uses a phone, a cell phone? Okay, very good. Who here texts on their cell phones? Okay, excellent. Who here uses the internet for email, okay, yep, everybody. And then last question is, who here is on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram? Okay, all right, yeah. So these are all places where we can encounter scammers. Okay. All right, so in 2023, these were our top 5 reported scams. The number 1 most reported scams were sweepstakes and lottery scams. This is when they call you or you get an email and they say, congratulations, you've won a brand new car. And you didn't apply for that application. You have no idea how this came across, but you are thrilled, right? And they tell you, you just have to pay the taxes or the delivery fees on it, and then we'll deliver this car to you. Or, you've won the lottery from Publishers Clearinghouse, and you just have to pay the taxes on it. Any time that you have to pay a small amount up front for a bigger payout down the line, it's a scam. Okay. The second most common type of scam is kind of an umbrella. It's imposter scams. These are any type of scam where they are pretending to be somebody credible or of authority. So they can pretend to be your bank and say, we've noticed suspicious activity. We're freezing your account. Call this number to unfreeze it. They can be a business. One of the most impersonated businesses is Best Buy. So, you'll get emails saying, we're renewing this subscription for tech support. And you think, I don't remember ever buying that. But they're going to charge you $850 for it. And so you click the link or you call the number and you try to stop it and ultimately end up giving away information. They can also impersonate the government. We hear about people who they get targeted with the jury scam, where they call you and they say, you've missed jury duty and we're coming to arrest you. And law enforcement doesn't give a heads up before they come and arrest you, right? So these scams, what you'll notice the trend is that they try to get you really worked up. They want to make you nervous. They want to make you feel like there's a sense of urgency, like you have to act quickly. And the next one is a perfect example of this, romance and friendship scams. These are probably, I think, the saddest scams. This happens by somebody reaching out and saying, hey there, you seem like a great person. Let's go get lunch. And you have no idea who this person is. Maybe they contacted you on Facebook or through a dating app, or they just texted your number, and you have no idea who they are. And so you say, who is this? And then they somehow start a conversation with you. And over weeks and months and years, they develop a relationship with you. And you think, oh, this person's my friend or this person's my boyfriend. And, you care about them. They ask you how you're doing. They know the names of your family members or your friends, and they keep up with you. And then ultimately something tragic happens to them. They have a health emergency, someone they love has a health emergency, and they need your help. And so because you care about them, you send them money. And then as soon as you've sent them as much money as you possibly can, they disappear. So these are really heartbreaking. The fourth most common scam are tech support scams. These are, the Federal Trade Commission just published a report. These are some of the most successful scams that they will impersonate Microsoft or Best Buy's Geek Squad and say, alert, we've detected a virus or something's wrong with your computer. And, click this link and we can help, or call this number and we can fix the problem. And then ultimately you end up paying them money to fix the problem that was never there, or they end up hacking your computer when you give them access. And then the fifth most common type of scam is called grandparent scams, but you don't have to be a grandparent to have this happen to you. It's when they call you using new technology and they mimic the sound of the voice of somebody that you care about. And so they will then say, something along the lines of, I'm in trouble, I need help, I need you to send money. And you do it because it sounds like the person that you care about. Has anyone had one of these happen to them before? Yeah, okay. So these are scary as well. But again, you don't have to be a grandparent. They can call and say that they're your sister, that they're your son or daughter, or that they're your parent. It sounds like somebody that you care about. Okay, so these are the most common types of scams. We're going to walk through how to avoid these scams now. So we'll walk through phone scams, then text scams, and then online scams. All right? Is my speed okay? Do I need to slow down anymore? Or am I doing good? Okay. All right. So how to avoid phone scams. The best thing to do is to not answer the phone when you do not recognize the number. Okay? That is the best way to avoid these scams. Do not answer the phone. Sometimes, though, we do answer the phone because we're expecting a call, right? If you're expecting a call from the pharmacy because your prescription's ready to be picked up soon, you're more willing to pick up the phone, especially if it's a local area code. And so sometimes we do answer the phone. And when that happens, if it sounds suspicious, if it's not who you're expecting to call, if there's a wait and then a beep and then somebody comes on, hang up, okay? It is not rude to hang up. It is absolutely okay, and it is the right thing to do to protect yourself. If you inadvertently hang up on somebody that you actually care about and you wanted to talk to, that's okay. I'm sure they'll call back, right? Okay? So it's okay to hang up. Do not answer any of their questions. If they call you and say, who is this? Don't give them your name. If they call and ask, how old are you? Don't give them your age, okay? They're trying to collect details and information to then call back and scam you a different way, okay? So don't give them any information. The other thing is that when you talk to them, they can record your voice and then use it to mimic in one of those grandparent scams, okay? All right, so don't respond to questions. Don't give out personal information. The best thing to do, though, is to just not answer the phone when you don't recognize the number. Okay. Who here has signed up for the Do Not Call registry? Okay, good. All right, so it looks like some of you all have, some of you all haven't. This is a good resource. I will admit, it is not foolproof, okay? It does not work 100% of the time. I know, if you're signed up for it, I'm on it too. I get it. But it is helpful. It does help, okay? So you can either call this number or you can go online, and it takes, I swear, it takes 2 minutes. So you put in your phone number, you say, do not call, and then it will block phone numbers from calling you that are spam or robocallers, okay? It's not foolproof, though, and so that's where this next thing comes in. If you get a phone call that is a robocall or a spam call, please report it to our office, okay? We share this data with the telecommunications companies and other state and federal agencies. So when you report this, it'll just ask for, the name of the person that called you, if they told you, the phone number, the organization that they said they were calling from, any information that they might have offered, and then you just submit that to us. The important thing here is that to recognize that there are legal robocalls and there are illegal robocalls. Legal robocalls are organizations that you have given permission to call you. So, for example, your doctor's office can use a robot to call you and say, press 1 to confirm your appointment next week. That's legal. You've given them permission to call you to confirm your appointment. An illegal robocall is like those really annoying car warranty scams, right? That call you and they're like, your car warranty is expiring. And you think, I don't have a car warranty, right? So those are illegal. Those are the ones that we want you to report to our office, okay? All right, moving on to text scams. People have become less willing to answer the phone because we tell them, don't answer the phone if you don't recognize the number. So now scammers are texting us. One of the most common text scams is a missed delivery notification. Has anyone gotten one of these? I get them regularly. They're very frustrating. More and more we're buying things online, right? Through Amazon, through Walmart. You're expecting deliveries. And so then you get a text message that says, failure to deliver your package, incorrect address information, or you didn't pay the right fee. Click here. And then they ask you to pay a small amount of money, and then usually your credit card's then compromised, and they then start making other purchases with your information. So that's a common text scam. That is this you text scam. That's the start of a romance or friendship scam. And then just some other imposter scams are your bank account's closing, your credit card's locked, a government agency could text you, or a fake government agency could text you. Our government's not texting you. But so those are some of the common text scams. Best thing to do, again, do not respond, okay? And it's very similar with the phone calls. Don't give them any information. Don't respond text or stop or unsubscribe, because what that does is it then tells them, oh, somebody uses this phone number. I'm going to keep texting them. Are they from that same number or from a different number? So just don't respond, okay? Do not click on any links that are texted to you from an unknown number. If they say, click here to track your package, don't click that link. Go back to your original confirmation email that has the tracking information and click that one, okay? Go back to a verified source. If your bank is supposedly texting you saying there's an issue with your bank account, go to the number on your credit card or your debit card and call that number to see if there's an issue. Or go to, log into the URL that you know to belong to your bank. Okay, don't just trust that the information coming to you in a text message is legitimate. If you get spam text messages, on smartphones, there's usually text, a small font underneath it that's blue usually, that says, unknown number, do you want to block and report as spam? And that's absolutely okay to do. You can click that smaller font, and it sends it to your telecommunication company, and they will block that number for you, and they report it as spam. The other thing you can do is to send it to 7726. So you can take a picture of that text message, or you can just copy and paste that text message and send it to this number. And it does the same thing. It sends it to your telecommunications company, and they track those reports. Okay? All right. Email scams. With our emails, we have to be like detectives, okay? There are clues that are in our inboxes that we have to pay attention to. The first one to pay attention to is who the email is coming from. So double check, is the email coming from a real address? Companies pay lots of money for their addresses to be at google.com or at netflix.com. If it's coming from at Netflix 5 gazillion numbers more.com, that's not Netflix, okay? If it's coming from Walmart, but there's 2 L's, it's not coming from Walmart, right? So double check who it's coming from. The second thing to look at is your inbox should have built in a virus detection software. So it should give you a warning that says, careful, we don't know who this is coming from. You know, this is a new address. Proceed with caution. Listen to that, okay? And then the third is to double check any links that you're sent. When you're on your desktop, you can move your mouse so that your cursor just hovers over the link. And instead of clicking on the link, just hover your cursor over it, and then a text box will pop up, and it will show you where that link is actually going. Okay? So you just move your mouse to hover over the link, a text box will pop up, and it will show you where it's actually going. If it says, if you get an email from Zoom, but then the link is taking you to some other web address, don't click on that link. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Something else to look for is if emails are coming to you in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's not a regular business. So that should go to junk. And when you get these, just send them to your junk folder, okay? Your junk folder needs training. So when you send them to your junk folder, it gets better and better about filtering them out yourself, okay? I had someone the other day say, I'm going to start sending my mother-in-law's emails to my junk folder. I said, I cannot recommend that, sir. All right. On social media. Some of you all said that you're on social media. These are fun questions to respond to. The challenge is, though, the car that you passed your driver's test in mine was a Buick Regal. That answer, though, is the security question to my bank account. So if you wanted to hack into my bank account, you would need a password and then to answer a security question. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? What's the name of your favorite pet? What was your first car's make and model? Those are security questions. So when we post them on our social media, somebody can then hack into our most important accounts. So don't post these answers online. Don't post, your mother's maiden name or where you were born. All of those things are security question answers. These are great questions to ask over lunch here at Springmore, though. Just do it with people you trust, right? Go down memory lane with people that you trust you don't think are actually going to hack you. Okay, some other online prevention tips. Practice good cyber hygiene. This means update your software systems. When your phone says it's time to update your software, I know everyone goes, not again. But it's important to update it, okay? Make sure that it's most up to date, it's current against viruses. Make sure that your privacy settings are set so that you're not giving away your location to anybody you don't know, that you're not inadvertently sharing your location when you share information on Facebook, and that no one's following you that you don't know. Consider multi-factor authentication. Does anyone know what multi-factor authentication is? Okay, multi-factor authentication. I know it's a big word. It should be, do you have the... Your friend next to you has the PowerPoint. It's when you log into your bank account or an important account, and it requires that you type in your password, and then they will send a code to your phone, and they'll text you 4 or 6 digits that you then have to type in to log into that account. It's becoming more and more common and even required for some accounts. It's annoying, but it is helpful because if a scammer or a hacker has your password, they also have to have your phone to then be able to get into your account, okay? So it does make it more secure. And then use strong passwords. So this table shows you what a strong password looks like. A strong password does not have to be a bunch of letters and a bunch of numbers. Okay, the strongest password should be phrases or sentences. So a motto, a song lyric, a Bible verse that you like and that you'll remember. And then just swap in some uppercase letters and some numbers and a symbol. So you'll see here, if your password is just 4 characters and it's only numbers, someone can hack that instantly. But if you go down here, it's 18 characters and it uses numbers, upper and lowercase letters and symbols. It will take them 26 trillion years. If somebody hacks into our bank account in 26 trillion years, they can have whatever is left, right? So make sure that you're using something that's long, but remember the strongest passwords are ones that you can remember. Okay, so it doesn't have to be hard to hack. It just needs to be, or it doesn't need to be hard to remember. It just needs to be hard to hack. So if you do choose a Bible verse as your password, don't post that Bible verse on Facebook. Okay. And then my grandpa always says, a dull pencil remembers more than a sharp mind. So keep a list of what your passwords are. Make sure you write them down. All right, some payment prevention tips. Credit cards are generally more secure than debit cards, especially online. The reason is that the funds do not leave your account immediately like debit cards. So there's a period where you can what they call claw back that money. So you can claw it back from that website by disputing the charge. Unless you know the vendor, be very careful with person-to-person payment methods. That's Venmo or Zelle. It's when you send money electronically to somebody from your bank account, and it's really hard to get back, okay? So if you're standing at an art fair and you're holding the piece of art that you want to buy and you Venmo that person, that's fine. But if you are paying somebody and then you're later going to get something from them, be very careful. These payment methods do not have the same security features that your credit card does. Same with gift cards, cryptocurrencies, and wire transfers. Scammers will tell you, one of the scams that's going around right now and has been for a while are these gift card scams where you'll get an email from somebody that you think is your friend or your boss or your colleague, and they say, I need help, or my friend needs help. Can you please send gift cards? Or even just the back of gift cards, that you take a picture of the back of the gift card and then they immediately drain those funds. So do not send pictures of the backs of gift cards to people. If you get an email like that from somebody who you think, this is weird, I just saw them yesterday and they didn't mention anything about this, call them, okay? Call them with a number that you trust. And then just always be careful with cryptocurrency. If you are investing money in cryptocurrency, know that as soon as you put your money in, it's gone. There is nothing that anybody can do to get it back. All right. Online shopping. This is so easy to do and yet also a little bit dangerous, especially on social media. When you see posts from, Talbots or from Brooks Brothers, and they're saying, we've got our new summer collection, come and browse. Be careful that you're going to the actual store, that you're going back to Talbots or you're going to Chico's, because anybody, I could go onto Facebook right now today and post an ad that looks like Talbot's and send you to a totally different website. Anybody can pay for ads on Facebook. So this, for example, is Legos, and they are offering a flash sale of 80% off. If you've ever bought Legos, okay, sorry. Okay, so this is Legos. If you have ever bought Legos, you know that they are never 80% off, right? So this is way too good to be true. They also have a sense of urgency. They say it's today only, and so you want to click that link. The best thing to do, though, is to go back to the source. Go to lego.com. Don't click on this link. Type into your browser lego.com and go to the company that you know to be true. Okay, some everyday prevention tips. We recommend you perform a wallet audit. This is when you go through your wallet and you make sure that everything in there you actually need to be carrying around. So if you have expired cards in there, go ahead and shred those. If you don't need to carry around other important documents like your Social Security card, go ahead and put those in a safe place so that if you were to lose your wallet, you don't lose everything. Shred documents with personal information. This is a good idea to do regularly just to make sure that you're not keeping 30, 40 years worth of tax information lying around. Then also collect your mail regularly. Make sure that you don't leave important documents just sitting out in your mailbox. You can enable online banking to monitor your accounts. So if you want updates when you have a big transaction, then you can set that up with your bank and you can call them to ask more questions about what that might be. Beware of a false sense of security. Just because, you always shop at talbots.com, don't trust that when you're on Facebook, that Talbot's ad that comes up is actually from Talbot's, okay? So be a detective, look for clues, make sure that you're being judicious in the decisions that you're making online and in person. Watch out for skimming. This is what this picture is up here. It's when you are at a card terminal and they have added a device to that card terminal to steal your information when you insert or swipe your card. So this can be at gas stations, at ATMs, even at the grocery store. So just make sure that before you put your card in, that you make sure that it looks stable. It does not look like it's been tampered with. If you're at a gas station or an ATM and that piece of tape is missing, don't use it. Find a different terminal. And then always ask a friend when in doubt. You all have a wonderful community here of people to consult when you have a question or a concern. So if something seems strange or fishy to you, ask for help. Ask for somebody else's opinion, okay? Okay, and then some other ways to just monitor if your identity has been stolen or if your credit's been stolen. You can request a free credit report. Does anyone request free credit reports regularly? Very good. Okay, so this is totally free. You can contact any of the 3 major credit bureaus and request a free report. So you can go online or call them, and it's free. If they say, you can pay $24.99 for extra security, they're upselling you. This is totally free. And just go through that report. It's very easy to read. You should recognize everything that's on there. So if it says, your credit card, maybe your mortgage or your car payment, all of those you should recognize. And if there's anything that you don't recognize, you need to report it. And then the other thing that we recommend is a security freeze on your credit. Has anyone done this before? Very good. Okay. So same thing. You contact those 3 credit bureaus. You have to contact all of them for this one. And you tell them you want to do a security freeze on your credit. And this is permanent. So it will prevent anybody, including yourself, from using your credit unless they pause it. And to pause it, you would make a 4-digit PIN. And you would have to tell that PIN number to the credit bureau, to all 3 credit bureaus, to then pause it and to be able to open up new lines of credit. So if you're in a situation in life where I'm not going to need a new mortgage or a new car payment anytime soon, then this is an excellent way to prevent anyone from taking your credit. Okay, so we've gone through all the different ways to hopefully prevent identity theft. But in the event that your identity is stolen, then the resource that you need to contact is from the Federal Trade Commission. And they have a website called identitytheft.gov, and this is the resource to go to. They walk you through every single step of what you will need to do in the event that your identity is stolen. And you can also call them to talk to a real person if you have any further questions. All right, so I will wrap up with just some resources from the Department of Justice that we offer. The first, at the very beginning of the presentation, I talked about consumer complaints that we receive. Last year, we received more than 21,000 of them. You would go to our website, ncdoj.gov, to file a complaint. To sign up for consumer alerts, like if you wanted to know when there's lead in your applesauce or when there's a new scam that people are using, you can go to our website and put in your email, and we send out newsletters. And then to call our division, to call the Consumer Protection Division, you would use this 8775 no scam number. And it's a real person that you would talk to. You would tell them, your situation. If you have questions too about contractors or businesses that you're thinking about engaging in business with and you want to know if there's been complaints against them, you can call our office and we'll tell you that history too. And then the last thing is you can follow us on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and YouTube, if you want to keep up to date with what the Department of Justice is doing. Okay. All right. Now, any questions and also stories that you all have about experiences with scams that you've had or that your friends have had? I think that's one of the best ways that we can learn is from each other's experiences. So I know there's a microphone somewhere that will get passed around if anybody has a question or a story they'd like to share. All right, looks like we've got a question right here.
Hello?
I have two questions. Do you recommend a password? Do you recommend a password manager? And there are some that you have to pay for it, but they're virus protection.
Okay, so the question was if I recommend a password manager and the ones that you pay for that have virus protection built in. I can't recommend any specific services as an employee of the DOJ, but I do think that, if it's helpful to you and you're willing to pay for it, then that is absolutely something that you can look into. I know there's lots of different ones that are offered. I personally just write my passwords down on a piece of paper. So that's how I keep track of mine. But I know that that's not always feasible for everyone. It's a good question. What other questions? Looks like we've got one back here.
Clear?
Yes, right here.
You talked about the settlements that you get back on all of these. Does any of that money ever make it back to consumers, or is it just go to the state?
Great question. Yes. Okay, so the question was the settlements and judgments that were won in court. I mentioned since 2017, the Consumer Protection Division has won more than $3 billion. Where does that money go, essentially? So some of the money goes back to the consumer who was stolen from. In the case of opioid pharmaceutical manufacturer companies, that money is being redistributed across the state. So a portion of that money is staying with at the state level, but there's an excellent tracker that you can go and find out exactly where that money is being spent in Wake County, in the city of Raleigh, and how they're dispersing that money to different organizations. So, and the way that the Constitution or the state and the budget for North Carolina is made, a portion of that money does fund our office to pay the attorneys who fight or to fight these cases in court, but most of the money does go back out to the public.
I'm getting way too many emails for just ads, but I get something from my email provider, but I can't get through their system to try to. Are those effective? Those ones by say you're with AOL or Gmail, when they say for a few dollars a month they can curb that, are they effective?
I'm not familiar with that service. That the question was about paying a few dollars a month to your email provider for extra protection against ads. It sounds like no. Your people are shaking their heads. They're not effective to pay that extra money. Oh, you don't know. Never heard of it. I've never heard of it either. It doesn't work. Personally, for my own inbox, the most successful thing that I have done is I take a couple of hours, maybe once or twice a year, I sit down, I go through, and I unsubscribe to the ones that are the worst offenders. If it's Walmart or Amazon that send me emails multiple times a day, I unsubscribe from those, and I delete them all, and I report them as junk so that they go to my junk folder. So that's what I find to be most successful for me. Okay, let's see if there's other questions from anybody else first. Well, we've got one up here.
Put it close to your mouth. Okay. So I was getting multiple phone calls, same area code, same 3 digits, and then the last 4 digits would go in order. I wasn't answering them at all on my cell phone.
Good job.
Yeah, I have. So I finally did something called No Mo Robo, which I think is an Apple product, and it has worked. Does the Do Not Call registry cover cell phones or only landlines, the U.S. one?
So the Do Not Call registry is national, and it covers cell and home phones.
Okay.
Yep. Good.
That was my question. I have another weird question.
Okay.
I've had two accounts, AT&T and then my husband's pension fund, both. It sounds like my information was compromised. So I always feel a little uncomfortable even going to Experian. And for my husband's account, someplace I've never heard of. I wish I'd brought it with me. It's like Flyer or something. Should I be uncomfortable about that?
Okay, so the question is, like, with these major credit bureaus, should you be uncomfortable giving them your information? Because unfortunately, they are targeted for hacks. Yes, it is unfortunate because, right, you're giving them information to help protect you, and then they are then targeted because they have people's important information. I know that in the major one, I think it was Equifax, and this was, I think, more than 10 years ago, they were targeted in a hack and a security breach. And then as a result, they offered everyone who was involved in that security breach, like extra security protections. So, and that was for free. I know it's tricky, right? What do you do? And I just think you have to make the best decision for yourself. I think, a security or a credit freeze is definitely helpful because people need the PIN to be able to borrow it or to use your credit. But it is tricky. I know. Yes.
A lot of the robocalls that I get, the first thing they say is, "Can you hear me?" Do not answer yes, because they can get your answer yes and reply it, as your answer to something else.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for sharing that tip. Very good. Other tips or questions? Okay, sure. The tip was when when you get a robocall and the first question that they ask is, "Can you hear me?" Don't answer yes. So along the same lines of don't give out any personal information. The thing that's also valuable is the sound of your voice, that they can then use the sound of you answering yes to insert it into, you promised you would pay $5,000 for this, and here's the sound of your voice saying yes, but they've clipped it. Okay, so just don't give them any information. Okay, there was another question here.
So if you unsubscribe to an email, sometimes you can just say unsubscribe, but sometimes they ask you for your email. Is that okay?
So the question is, if you are trying to unsubscribe from an email and they're asking for your email to unsubscribe, and you're sure it came from a legitimate source, then yes, that you are giving them your email so that they can go through their records and delete you as a recipient of those emails. Okay.
An hour and a half ago, I got a message on my computer, and it said, we will do this for your computer and so forth. If you didn't do this, call this number.
Sounds like a scam.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, we've got a lady here in the blue.
Close to your mouth.
When we first moved here, I tried to sign up for the Do Not Call list with my landline. But the way the call comes through to them is 919-848-7000. It doesn't come through as my number, so I couldn't sign up. I mean, it comes through. If I'd call you, it wouldn't show my number. It would show the 7,000 as a protection for me.
We have a switchboard and the calls to the switchboard.
Okay, I see.
So I never have been able to sign up for that on my landline.
Okay. All right, so the question is about the switchboard here at Springmore, that you can't use your landline here at Springmore to sign up for the Do Not Call registry.
Could I do the www Do Not Call? Would that work maybe? I don't know. I know when I called,
Yeah.
it said, well,
Has anyone else had this issue trying to register their Springmore number on the Do Not Call registry? Okay. All right, I'll look into it afterwards, and I'll try and get you an answer, okay?
I don't know
what Murphy's call was, but I got a call in mid-December that said somebody has changed the name on your the address on your bank account. If you have not made this change, call. And it gave a number, and I called, and I was able to stop a major hack. So sometimes you just have to call.
So long as you call the number on your bank card.
I called the number but I guess it had been generated by the bank just automatically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think to look at my credit card because they were talking about my checking account.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I did call back the number, and as I say, it was a big mess, but it didn't cost me anything. So
Okay.
if I hadn't called them back,
Yeah.
I would have lost a lot.
Okay, so there's two things there. First is if you get a text message and you think this might be from my bank, that there is suspicious activity, and it is from the same phone number that your bank always texts you from, that if you've signed up for mobile banking and that they will send you alerts, that we've noticed, this amount transaction, and that was, you've made those transactions, they're telling you what you've done, then that's a trusted number. You can trust the information that they send in that text message from that verified number. If you get a text message from a new number, supposedly from your bank, with, suspicious activity, don't trust that phone number. Is that clear? Okay. All right. Questions on this side of the room, perhaps? Yes, sir. Over here in the red shirt. Wait for the microphone, okay?
I know Medicare never contact these ways, but the U.S. Postal Service apparently does. With your information for forwarding being expired in certain number of days, then 4 sheets in, they want $39 to continue forwarding your email, your U.S. mail. So does the U.S. Postal Service have a different set of rules?
Not to the best of my knowledge, and I can double check that. If you want to send me an email at this email address, I can double check, but I don't think so. Generally, unless you're signed up for a specific service, the government is not usually texting you. But I can double check that too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One more question?
This question is about nuisance calls. I don't know that they're necessarily criminal in nature, but for example, we get, probably most of us here get these repeated calls about, have you got a burial plan? And that sort of thing. And, like once a week. I just hang up on them. But I wonder whether somehow they're exempted from the new regulations about spam calls, commercial calls.
Okay, so the question is about nuisance calls where companies are calling and asking, and they're selling something, they're marketing you something. If you have not given them explicitly your phone number and your permission to call, then yes, that is something that you can report to our office. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right.
We do have at Springmore a text support committee, and on the bulletin boards there's a sheet that lists the names of several of us that you can call if you're having a security problem or question with your computer, your cell phone, or even your TV set. Sometimes we can help with that. So look on the bulletin boards for our names. And very frequently, we can get you out of trouble with no cost and no worry.
Thank you much, Sarah, for that very informative program. We do appreciate all the information and advice that you have given us, and hopefully we will be able to remember it at the right time so that we will not become a victim in the future. Next month, we'll be taking our summer break, and there will be no Residents Association meeting in July. The next program will be Monday, August the 12th at 3 p.m., and it will be Dr. Jerry Barker giving us a pictorial journey of the North Carolina Mountain to Sea Trail. Jerry has been very involved with the MST over the years, has served as the president of the MST Board of Directors, and has written a book about the MST. I've seen his presentation, and I think you will find it very interesting, so I'll look forward to seeing you back here on Monday, August the 12th. Let's finish up our meeting now with some door prizes, for which we thank VIDIA in the Springmore First Citizens Bank office. I do want to remind you that the door prizes are not given by First Citizens Bank. They are purchased and given by VIDIA personally. So the next time you're by that office, please thank her for the door prizes, which we get each time we have a meeting. Alan, what are the lucky numbers today?
The winning number is 1480523. One. And the second winning number is 026879. Mm-hmm.
Sarah can stay for a while.
Okay.
Ask her some questions.
Okay. I'd like to thank Sarah for our program. And Sarah has indicated she'll be willing to stay around a few minutes to respond to other questions if you have them. Thank you for being here today. We'll see you on August the 5th, I believe it is. Enjoy the festivities of Springmore, including the gala coming up very shortly and other things through the summer. And enjoy your own vacation if you get one. We adjourn. Thank you.